The next items, Commissioner Greco, you and I have similar items. The manager, we could probably just take them all together so we don't kind of go. It's all about the horrible word we've all gotten used to, Floatopia.
So these are items R9B, R9D, and R9F.
Okay. All right. You know what, Commissioner Greco, do you want to feel free?
I think I've said enough in the last couple of weeks, but I'll be brief. This isn't about one event. I think that we can look at this event that happened a couple of weeks ago as an opportunity to, because it means more than just Floatopia. It's about spring break. It's about Memorial Day. It's about Labor Day. It's about all of these high impact weekends. We've been experiencing some flash traffic, and these are kind of flash events, and they happen. They're somewhat planned, but the sheer size of them and the drain on resources, it's immeasurable. I mean, I believe I spoke to the city manager today. We found out that the city spent over $60,000 in overtime to cover that event. That's $60,000 of Miami Beach taxpayer money. I don't even know what the county paid, and that's your county taxes as well. I don't even know what those numbers are. But it's not what we signed up for. When we do special events, whether it be the Centennial Concert, whether it be the Air and Sea Show, whether it be any other city-sanctioned events, there are monies that are put up, there are bonds, there's coordination with the city, there's the provision, there's security provisions and traffic plans and coordination with the police and the city manager's office. And that's the way you're supposed to do an event, because when you have, and I was the one out there, everybody saw it, I was out there, and you're talking 80 to 100,000 people in an area that can't handle that many people. And the folks that are south of 5th, and we've got a bunch of people south of 5th, we've got folks from Joe's here, we got folks that live down in the neighborhood, and it was like a parking lot. So say somebody living in the Continuum, or somebody at Joe's was having a heart attack, they would have died, because I watched a rescue truck not be able to get through the traffic. At some point, it actually had to jump the median and speed southbound in the northbound lanes, almost got into a head-on collision. And it's because that area in particular, the geography of that area does not lend itself to major events. It's just not the way it works. I've been lucky enough to have some contact online with the organizer of the event. And she was mortified by what used to be an event that we embraced. We worked with these folks, even if it was indirectly. We knew they were coming, kind of like Critical Mass. Same thing with Critical Mass. We're Miami Beach. We're very open. We try not to be the old man kicking everybody off their lawn. But at a certain point, it's time to say enough. It's time to say there is a public safety and a quality of life issue that comes along with these major events. And historically, we've tried to manage Memorial Day. I think it's pretty sad that we measure success by the number of arrests there are. That discussion will be next, I believe. But I've seen the list of recommendations coming from the city manager, coming from some of the folks in the private sector, and I mean, we can make the list longer, but I think that there was a recommendation, and I don't know if the mayor is inclined to do a blue ribbon panel. I don't know if we need a panel for this. I think that we can knock this out. It's not that complex. I think we can leave it in the hands of the city attorney and the city manager, come up with a list, give Jimmy the tools to make the decisions that he needs to make in real time, in order to ensure the safety of our residents, the safety of our guests, the quality of life for the folks here. So I know that the mayor and I have made many public statements about this. I think we're on the same page.
Great.
I don't know where my colleagues are, but I'm willing to do everything and anything to protect the people in this city.
Thank you, Commissioner. I think the most important thing, let's open it up for dialogue. I mean, clearly the manager has some great recommendations that he's put together. We want to hear about those. And then, of course, what I do want to do, and I am going to do, is put together a blue ribbon panel. Commissioner Ariola has agreed to chair it. We're going to have some residents in our community. And it's not necessarily about Floatopia. It's about future Floatopias, ideas, large events in our city, and making sure that our community want some of these large events, and if we do have these large events, what can we do to make them, more just agreeable, and that doesn't disrupt our entire city? And so we want to take a lot of community input for it. Commissioner Ariola is going to chair that, but that has nothing to do with Floatopia right now. I think we need to put our anti-Floatopia, engagement in place. So, Mr. Manager, do you want to talk to us about?
Yeah, very briefly, and the report obviously can speak for itself, but we've tried to focus on sort of finding the middle ground between closing a beach entirely, as places like Santa Barbara have done, and just throwing a lot of money at the problem, which obviously we would need to do if we spent $60,000 for what was planned to be the normal Floatopia event. Imagine how much it would cost if we were really trying to spend those resources. And the recommendation before you is to have my staff work with the city attorney's office to put together an ordinance that outlines various extraordinary authorities in extraordinary times that we would have to be used on an ad hoc basis, depending on the time, the event, et cetera, and to bring that back as an ordinance for first and second reading, with the goal of, as I say in the report, we have, as you know, the beach technically belongs to the state of Florida. The county sort of manages for them to some degree, east of the dunes. We have a beach management plan. You all recently amended it with the state, with the Division of Lands and DEP. That plan, actually, as amended, is going before the Division of Lands in June, in this coming summer. And we have had conversations with them, and they are willing to consider some additional amendments to that plan that would include, for example, whatever we would come up with in an ordinance to outline, whether it's the right to ban floats, coolers, tents, the other things that we outline. So what I would ask is that we could be able to come back with the first and second reading in time to then present it to, I think it's June 7th, is it, Marguerite? Whatever the date is in the state, and hopefully if they implement it, now we will have the legal framework, because we work with the city attorneys, both under our beach management plan and our ordinance, to do the things we need are necessary to make these events, to control the crowds and allow there to be effective law enforcement, code enforcement, and whatnot.
Okay.
So,
Dialogue, question? Commissioner Ariola, you want to talk about?
Yeah, I saw something I think you had put together, or maybe it was Frank Delvecchio who put it together. It was a 9-point plan that looked really solid. Met with the chief last Friday. I think we'll be talking about an ordinance sometime soon about giving additional police authority for these kinds of events, which apparently he doesn't actually have for emergency public and safety matters. So I think there's a lot we can do to beef up our efforts to manage these large events, and we'll get those done in the next 30 days, I think.
Okay, Commissioner Malakoff, please.
I think when you're talking with the state, I think it's very important that we're able to limit access at the entrance so that coolers can really be confiscated so that alcohol doesn't slip in. When it's just a free, open space to go, it's very hard, no matter how many in staff is there, to control the crowds. And I think that that's very important, and we need that authorization.
and one important point I forgot to mention, also the issue of limiting occupancy, because in a lot of places, there is sort of an occupancy limit to how many bathers there can be out there. The county does it at Crandon and Hollover, and the ability to do that, particularly even from a life safety perspective, there were over 200 rescues that day. On very rough surf, the floats were flipping over. Even 2 of our police officers went out and rescued a 5-year-old child. So these are life safety issues in addition to the litter issues. And I think the state recognizes that we sometimes have to have those limits, and that would be part of it here as well.
Commissioner Aliman, please.
Just a question for Mr. Manager. Are license plate readers, can they count vehicles that are coming into the city?
I'm going to ask the experts. I know we can check. The answer is yes.
Yeah. So maybe we include also, I don't know if it's police or DEM that monitors those, but some sort of trigger where, we understand what the normal flow of inbound visitors is, and that there's a trigger where we realize we've reached some threshold, because the planned events, I don't remember who was talking about it. The planned events, we have a traffic management plan. We have, parking, we have shuttles, we have a sanitation plan, and all of that is well thought out, well organized, and there's an understanding by the professional producers as to how many people are coming, tickets are sold, and so forth. It's these unplanned events that, where we're not coordinating with the producers and we don't really know who's going to show up, and that's what happened with Floatopia. Is we knew Floatopia was coming. We didn't know there were 100,000 people coming. So maybe we can use the license plate readers or some other such device to trigger an alert to say, we've passed some threshold here where this thing is much, much bigger than we had planned.
Commissioner Steinberg.
I just want to say, whether an event is planned or unplanned in our city, there are always going to be unforeseen issues and consequences, whether it's, due to weather, or due to the crowds, or due to the time of day, night. I mean, there are always situations that happen, and law enforcement is out there constantly and can attest, whether something is planned or not planned, things can go wrong. And so I don't want it just to be focused on, things that aren't planned in our city. But I think you're right, this is a bigger conversation.
Yep.
And I look forward to supporting an ordinance that will address a lot of these issues.
Absolutely, great. So, Mr. Commissioner?
Yeah.
agree? Yep.
Okay. This is what they call in basketball fake hustle. Okay? I'm gonna talk about fake hustle. Fake hustle is when you lose 2 games and you get called out for not playing defense and not diving for loose balls, and then you come out in the 3rd game, and the first half, you run around and we create panels and we talk about all these great things that we're gonna do, and then we're gonna walk out of here and we've done absolutely nothing, okay? The folks that are here and the folks that are texting me from home and emailing me right now, they wanna see action. They want to see the city attorney and the city manager get directed to come back with an ordinance as soon as possible. No, that's, hold on.
what we're
I would ask not to be interrupted. No, that's not. What we're doing is we're going to send a horse to committee and come back with a zebra. Okay? That's what's going to happen. All right? We are all elected up here because we have backbones and because we're leaders. Okay? And it's time to be leaders. And it's time to sit there. And I'm not going to, we need, the proof is in the pudding. It's not about, having a longer conversation and let's, paralysis by analysis. It's not that complex. We've been talking about this publicly. People have been talking about it privately for a couple of weeks now. We're not reinventing the wheel. We're not the first city that's had this problem. Let's correct the problem. And it's not just about this stupid Floatopia event. It's about these flash events. We had it during spring break, and we had fake hustle during spring break. At some point, we've got to step up and just do something. Let's do it. Let's give direction to the city manager, and I'll make the motion right now, to direct the city manager and the city attorney to come back with a comprehensive ordinance that gives the city manager the powers that we've discussed, come up with a laundry list, and we can sit there and veto whatever we want to veto at first reading. So we have something to look at. We don't need to go to blue ribbon panels and go to committee. This is not the thing. That's why we're here today. This meeting, this presentations and awards meeting, is supposed to be for time-sensitive matters, and it's supposed to be for presentations and awards.
Thank you. Michael, you just made the motion?
Yes, that's
But
my motion.
and by the way, I think that we were, let me just say, because there's a motion on the table, I think we were waiting to do that. That's kind of what we were just about to do, weren't we? I mean, didn't you want us to do that?
We'll
Mr.
bring
President?
it back, I think in order to make the June meeting of the Division of Lands, we'll bring it back first reading May 11th and second reading the second meeting in May, so we can bring it as a fait accompli to the state in June.
Okay.
We'll work on that. Raul?
Wait,
We have a motion on the table.
Yeah, I'll second that
All right,
motion
there's
so
a-
we can move the process forward.
Yeah.
Okay, great. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, those opposed say nay. Great. Thank you.
But by the way, this is a bigger conversation. It's not,
Yeah.
like you
So
said,
what-
it's not just about Flotopia or flash events. It is a
Absolutely.
bigger
So
conversation
what
about
we're gonna
events
do
in our
is-
city.
So what we're going to do is we're going to move forward, Mr. Manager, with this. You're going to come back with these great recommendations that we're going to approve in an ordinance. And then Commissioner Ariola is going to chair this panel. And you're going to look at all these various larger events, and we're going to bring in some residents on the community so that you can,
Yeah, because it's technology we got to be
Right.
looking at and investing in, so
Exactly.
it's not just a resolution, it's broader than that, but for sure, the things we talked about, the 9-point plan, which I thought was well thought out, and the chief's request that he's going to be making of us to give him the powers that he needs
Great.
For public safety.
And hopefully not just residents, but also, the Visitors and Convention Authority, because we are a vacation city, we have a tourist economy here to support, so I'm concerned about backlash to detrimenting really good quality events that are well-conducted, that even, that visitors and residents enjoy and support our economy. So I would like to make sure we have the proper business representation as well.
okay. Oh, Larry, would you like to say something, please?
My name's Larry Colin. I'd like to thank you all for working so hard, but there are sponsors. Someone put this together, and there should be consequences. If I were you, I would start a legal action against anybody who is a sponsor, regardless of how well it would how well it would work. But I would make them spend money and get a reputation of being a difficult city for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Guy. Larry, thank you very much. Commissioner Malakoff, please.
One other thing, I don't know if it belongs in the ordinance, but I think it's very important that the city of Miami Beach does a very strong social media campaign, just as Floatopia and other events use the web pages and social media to advance their events. We need to have the same going on behalf of the city of Miami Beach.
Thank you, Commissioner. All righty. It's 5 minutes to 7. The heat game starts at 8. R9C, Mr. Clerk.
R9C is discuss revisiting the Air and Sea Show during Memorial Day weekend
Just say.
2017.
Okay, that's me.
Madam Commissioner.
Yes, I placed this on today's agenda just in time for the discussion that we just had. The city's physical infrastructure cannot handle the volume of traffic and parking as we've seen with Floatopia, with Spring Break, et cetera, et cetera. How can we, as a city in good conscience, invite the Air and Sea Show to come here Memorial Day when we have regular Memorial Day plus the World Out Games in the city at the same time? The tens of thousands of people that will come to town, especially for the Air and Sea Show, are going to put a huge, huge impact upon traffic. There will be a standstill in the city. There will be congestion throughout the city, all the entrances and exits, not just around the beach, not just around Lummis Park. I believe that this is not the right thing to come to Miami Beach, and I think the City Commission made a mistake when the majority voted for the Air and Sea Show to come, and I think we should stop it.
Okay. All right, let's have conversation on the dais. Commissioner Grieco?
Mr. Mayor, may I say something
No,
before
no.
the discussion starts?
Let me get it out first. So I was the sponsor of the Air and Sea Show when we passed it in December. Okay, Floatopia completely contradicts everything my colleague just said. Floatopia was an unsanctioned, unapproved, uncoordinated event. If you want to take a poll of the city of Miami Beach and how many people just flee during Memorial Day weekend and have done so for 16 years because this city has not made any effort to actually program the weekend the way we're supposed to for Memorial Day, you would have a very long list. I listened during the presentations and awards, and I listened to two of my colleagues up here who coincidentally voted against the Air and Sea Show back in December, use the term honoring heroes during one of their presentations. That's what this is about. Commissioner, can you step forward, please? I would appreciate that. First of all, we have a contract. So unless we want to get sued for millions of dollars, and that's taxpayer dollars, good luck with that. We've already made a commitment to the organizer, to the vendor, so that's the logistical issue. But when we're talking about honoring our heroes, and when we're talking about logistics, Memorial Day weekend, we're already crippled. The city of Miami Beach spends over $1 million every year, taxpayer dollars, on police, fire, and sanitation. All right? The way that contract is structured is we probably aren't going to spend a dime more than that. And if we do, we split it dollar for dollar with the vendor. Why not fill the hotel rooms with folks that want city-sponsored entertainment, family-friendly entertainment? And, Mr. Mayor, I would ask if Commissioner
Sure.
Diaz could speak.
Please, Commissioner, you can speak, and then what we're trying to do is we'll talk a little bit, but then we have to kind of let the commissioners speak. But obviously, we've deference to you, Commissioner Diaz.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Commissioners, Ms. Vice Mayor. It's quite interesting. Thank you for allowing me to participate and listening for a little bit. My dear friend. I would tell you that, Commissioner, you're right on cue. Let's, with all due respect, this is, I just recently came from China. I spent China and Taiwan. We really preached about the beautiful things that we have in our community. Guess what the number one thing that comes out? Our beaches. Our beaches is number one. Our cruise ships, the city of Miami, because it's a monarch city, and the city of Miami Beach. Those are the cities that are known worldwide. Why? Because the tourists come here, and they spend a lot of money, and that's part of our, well, that is our economic engine. And I head up the committee that is TT, which is basically tourism and trade for the county, and then, the mayor and I, and we've dealt with many issues. It is important when we do the events that really put our community, our county, our cities on a plateau of good, of something positive. I am wholeheartedly supportive of all the citizens that really went through this Floatopia, what's it called again? Floatopia? Whatever it was. First of all, unsanctioned events, it's not what governments do. That's what certain promoters and people do. And if you go back in history, just to help out a little bit, and we could help you, and you have a great attorney, and you have great people, great law enforcement. Look into the sandbars, the events that were done in the sandbars, and they arrested the promoters, and those promoters were taken down, and the events stopped taking place on the sandbars. I would tell you that you also have, and the attorney warned, that you have a civic and duty for people's rights on being able to enjoy the beach. So it is a very difficult balance